This is a tutorial on how to use custom settings in Salesforce with Process Builder and Visual Flows, which will allow you to get the most out of custom settings without having to use or know any Apex knowledge at all. Just to give a little background on what a custom setting is, it's essentially a custom object that lives in the back end of Salesforce that you could utilize on any object anywhere with or without Apex. So what I want to show you in this video is how you can use them with the minimal knowledge. So yeah, let's jump right in. What this example is going to show is when a new lead comes in, we're going to populate a field for income based on their zip code. So essentially all new leads, you'll immediately know their income as long as you have their address, specifically the zip code field. So with the first step, what we're going to do is make a new field on lead. We'll make it a currency type, and we'll call it average income by zip code. We'll leave it as an 18 length with no decimals. Let's save that, add it to the page layouts, and we can see when we make a new lead now, here it is down here. So what I have is a file that I found online. Okay, so here we have every zip code in the United States and its corresponding median income. I will put this sheet in the description. If you want to follow along with it, you could just download it and it'll be a CSV file. So this is what we'll use to populate our custom setting with all that income data. So the next step, let's actually make our custom setting. If you don't know how to get there, go to Setup in the top right corner and then just search Custom Settings. And we're going to click New. And so I'm just going to call this something along the lines of zip income. It wants you to populate an object name. That's the equivalent of an API name for a custom object. You could put the same thing, unless yours has a space, either remove the space or put an underscore. And instead of hierarchy, we want to actually use a list. You could leave visibility as public and click Save. Now, just like a custom object, you've created an object in Salesforce. It's just a little different this time because it doesn't come with all those standard fields. It only comes with just about a single one called name. Some of these are fields as well, but they don't really provide any use. So we're going to create a custom field then. So what this field will be is the income for that specific zip code. So you're going to want to make it a currency again, just like we did on lead, and you can just call it income. The API name populates, we'll leave it as 18.0 and save it. So now we have this custom setting with two fields, name and income. So now we need to populate this custom setting with all that data that we have in our CSV sheet. So just like doing a data load for any other object, you're going to do that here. So I'm just going to export my CSV, make sure it's at most up to date. Alright, so now let me open up the data loader. Alright, so here's the data loader. What you're going to want to do is, first I'm going to change my batch size. I have it at 1 at the moment. I'm going to use the bulk API, so I have 2,000 records a second. I'm going to click Insert, Login. I've already put in my credentials, so I just had to click Allow. And now let me go next and find my custom setting, which is called zip income. And then let me locate that CSV sheet, click next. And then all I have to do is map two fields. I'm just going to auto match and it does it fine. By the way, the name represents the zip code, just to clarify, for those who might be a little confused in this sheet. And we'll clarify that a bit more down the line, why we're doing it that way, but it'll make sense. Then just click next and run it. Alright, now my job finished. I had a couple of errors, and the reason is because I had some duplicates when I was playing around with this before. I forgot to delete them. Everyone else should have no problems. It's a pretty straightforward upload. So now if we go and click manage on our custom setting, we'll see all the data in there. Kind of just like a custom object, that's how it is. If you wanted to edit your view to make it make a little more sense and throw in the income column in there, now you could actually see the correlation and see some more data. So now with that, we have to set up our visual flow and our process builder so that when new leads come into the system, they populate the income from that custom setting. So the first step is go to visual flow in setup. So I'm going to type in flows, and it's this right here. I'm going to create a new flow. Alright, once the flow designer loads, you're going to create a couple of variables beforehand. You could do so by going to resources. The first thing you want to create is an S-object variable. We're going to double click that and call it something along the lines of income custom setting. And pretty self-explanatory, this resembles your custom setting that you just created. You want to set the input output type as both, and then you want to locate your custom setting. So here it is, zip income _C, click OK. If we go to explore, we can see that it's made. The next variable we want to make is, we want to make the variable to resemble the lead ID. And just to give some context, once we make the process builder, we pass the lead ID to this custom flow. So simple enough, you could just call it lead ID input and output. You can leave it as a text type and set its default value to global constant empty string. That just means it's null whenever it's never populated. It's pretty self-explanatory. The next variable you want to make will resemble the zip code on the lead. So we'll just call it zip code lead. Again, input output, and the default value is global constant empty string. The last variable you're going to make will resemble the income value from the custom setting. So we're just going to call that income custom setting. This time it's not a text data type, it's a currency. Set the scale to 0. We're going to do input output again. And this time the default value actually comes from that custom setting. So what you want to do is click the drop down, go to S-object variables. This is what you just added before, and then just choose income. So just like that. Oops. Oh, I didn't realize that I actually already used that name, so I'm just going to call it income value custom setting. So this is what your Explorer should look like when you're all done. Just 3 variables in the S object. And now when you've done that, you could begin dragging items out from the palette. The first one's going to be a record lookup. Drag that out. And we're just going to call it lookup. The object will be zip income, your custom setting. So we're going to set the name equals, and we're going to choose the variable we made, zip code lead, which represents the zip code value that will come from the lead object. Then we want to take the field income and match it with income value custom setting. And then click OK. So that's the lookup. And then all we need to do now is do a record update. We'll just call that update lead. And as I just said, we're going to update the lead object. And let's match the ID from the lead. Match the lead ID again with the lead ID here that you made as a variable before. And now you need to find that field that we just made. I forget what we called it. Called it average income by zip. Average income by zip code. And the value is equal to income value from the custom setting. So that's basically how the flow goes. All you have to do is connect the dots. So take the diamond from here. And then when you've done that, you want to click the green circle in the top right corner. And that just marks that as the starting criteria. I'm going to click save and call it, we'll call it income visual flow. I can type. It's an auto launch flow. You could basically leave that all as default and click OK. And then close it. The last step is to activate it. And now there is one more step to all of this, and it's to make a process builder to initiate it all, which is pretty simple. So go to process builder, click new, and we'll just call this lead income PB. We want to start this process when a record changes. The starting object is lead. We'll do it when a record is created or edited and click save. And the simple criteria I would say is that the zip code is not null. So with that, I'm going to look for the zip postal code field and say is null, boolean, false. And we're going to go to advanced and make sure that's subsequently meet criteria. And then the only action will be to initiate your flow. So we'll just say launch flow. And the flow is called income visual flow. And now you just need to pass the two variables. So lead ID represents the lead ID. So we'll just do field reference. And then in this we'll do ID and locate the lead ID field. And the second one is zip code. So zip code lead, again it's a reference to the zip postal code field. Click save and click activate. And basically that's all it. Now you have a process builder that will initiate the visual flow, and with all those zip codes populated on the custom setting, we should have an income every single time a lead comes in, as long as that zip code is populated. So I'm just going to make a new test lead. Just call it test lead. Works for test co. And just put in a random zip code. I'll just put in a New York City one, 10012, and click save. As you can see, the average income by zip field is automatically populated. That's just one example of how a custom setting could work. You could literally utilize it in so many different ways. I could show more examples, but I would start off with this tutorial, and feel free to ask any questions in the comments section. And I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.